The topic discussion is web server responsibilities, which is under module 3 JavaScript. And before going to these responsibilities, we need to understand what is web server. A web server is a computer where a web content has been stored. And here in this basically web server is used to host the websites, but there exist some other web servers called gaming, storage, FTP, emails, and etc. And we need to understand the website. A website is a collection of web pages, and it can store the content of your documents. And this web server is a software can send response to the request for web resources. And how it can send, a web server can send response to the client in either of two ways. One is yeah, sending a file to the client associated with the requested URL, and another thing is generating response in invoking the script, otherwise a with the database. This is the two ways to communicate with the client. And we will see the web server responsibilities here. Handling HTTP connections. So first of all, he has to listen continuously with the client. Listen a client response continuously. HTTP request. Then afterwards he has to track and take the web server. HTTP request. Third thing, he has to pass those HTTP requests in response to web application, and he has to provide a container software which execute the server side programs. Otherwise, we can say it is a web resources. And afterwards, he has to gather the output from the server side, and then he has to pass those output in the form of a web page. And afterwards he can the server can deploy the manage, and then he can undeploy those web pages. And he respond to request for static and dynamic resources, and permissions and access for certain resources. As I already told, that multiple domains, and through URLs you can send a request to the client, response to the client with a particular URL. And encrypting and compressing the data, and through database connection, like generating a response, generating all those responses, invoking like script and communicating with the database, like that they can manage. And then managing cookies and state, and uploading, managing, and files. So these are the main responsibilities a web server can have. And next we are going to see LAMP, stack, WAMP, and MAMP. This is a free and open source software, and this is actually fully fledged functionality it has have. And L is for Linux operating system, and A is for Apache web server, M is for MySQL DBMS, and P is for PHP scripting language. It's a hypertext preprocessor. And WAMP and MAMP is also a free and open source software only. And Microsoft Windows family, when we are using, then WAMP is good for us. And MEMP, Mac OS. Mac OS, when we are going to see that concept, then we can go for this MAMP software installation. And Apache and Linux. Consider this Apache web server. It has an intermediary that interpret HTTP request that arrive through a network port and decides how to the request. This concept is nothing but the working condition of this Apache server, and he is just waiting for the request. This is how the Apache server will work, and it requires working in conjunction with the PHP. And this runs as daemon on server, and it is an executing instance of program. We can also call it as a process that runs in the back, waiting for a particular event that will activate it. And when a request arrives, Apache uses models to determine how to respond to the request. And he actually waits for the particular request, and he has to think that how to respond to the request. This is the Apache server's working condition. And a model is compiled extension to Apache that helps to handle the request. How to Apache web server waiting for the request and how to handle the request is the main concept behind this server, because these models are also we can call it as handlers. And this is the Apache and model based incoming request is coming, and response to that particular incoming request is getting by this Apache PHP server. So here in each module can decline saving a request and accept those things, and it can send the request from being served by the modules. And threads, multi-thread and multi-process. It can run in two possible modes. One is multi-process, another one is multi-threaded. Multi-process is, we can say it as a pre-fork, and multi-threaded we can call it as a worker. And the default installation of Apache runs using multiprocessor mode only. So if you are not going for any multi-threaded and all, by default it should be in the multi-process mode only. We can call it as pre-forked too. And next, multi-threaded worker setup, and what is a multi-process pre-fork work setup. And PHP internals has three main modules. One is PHP core and extension layer and Zend engine. In PHP core, it defines the main features of PHP environment, including the functions for handling variables, arrays, strings, class, maths, and other features. An extension layer defines for interacting with the services outside of PHP, and it includes libraries called MySQL, FTP, SOAP, I mean Simple Object Access Protocol. This is the main web service which we are using in this, and XML processing, and among many others. And Zend engine. This module handles the reading in a PHP file and compiling and executing it. And Zend engine. This is how it will work, because here we are not going to give any unnecessary elements over here, and this is how your code is not like a garbage. We can use whenever we need it. We can use this by parsing or running. We can use